Folks, today is Thursday, July 16th, 2026, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Folks on Threads and X claiming that photos have been removed from the Emmett Till memorial at the National Museum for African American History and Culture. We sent a reporter down there to find out. We'll tell you all about that. Speaking of Black history, we're talking with Linda Harris Cole of the Harriet Tubman Museum in Cambridge, Maryland, where thieves broke into the museum over the weekend and stole their donation box. A black family in Dallas is demanding murder charges in connection with their teen son's death. We'll talk about that. Plus, Pennsylvania State Representative Chris Rabb joins us to discuss November's midterm elections and what it will take to motivate and mobilize black voters. And also, we hear from him about the Trump folks removing those slavery panels in Philadelphia as well. Plus, Wednesday's semi-annual Consumer Financial Protection Bureau oversight hearing got heated as Democrats unloaded on Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vought. Trust me, you do not want to miss him being dressed down. Plus, Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, is investing $250 billion in a massive new data center in rural Louisiana. What's shaping up to be the most expensive in U.S. history. Capital B reporter Adam Mahoney, who broke the story, will join us live. Plus, we'll remember Hal Williams, star of 227 and Sanford and Son. He's died at the age of 91. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin. He's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Folks, on social media, I was looking at some folks on Threads and X talking about the Emmett Till exhibit at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Folks were saying that photos had been removed and you no longer had anything showing you that was there. So this is what was posted. Bro, I cannot believe what I just saw. We just went to the African American History Museum in D.C. for the second time. As we get to the Emmett Till exhibit, we were like, wait, there's no Emmett. Yes, they have photoshopped him out of his casket. His mother is still seen crying over an empty box, but they have removed all photos of his face, evidence of his brutal murder from the entire exhibit. This goes directly against the point of his mother having an open casket. I'm writing a letter. And then all of a sudden, other people begin to write. They begin to say the exact same thing. Well, we sent a reporter down there to actually find out if that was the case. Now, remember, that exhibit is the actual casket that he was buried in. And then when his body was exhumed, that casket came to the museum. And so what they have there, when you go to the museum there, it's a very solemn exhibit. Mahalia Jackson, Precious Lord, is playing, and they ask you to do no photos and videos. And so when you step in there, in the casket, they have photo of Emmett Till in terms of how his battered and decomposed face looked. And so obviously when we saw that, that raised a lot of questions. And so as a result, we sent someone down there. And that exhibit has been there since 2016. And so when you see these things on social media, as we all know, stuff all of a sudden begins to spread like wildfire, and then people begin to weigh in. Well, Logan Johns, one of our Black Star Network reporters, went down to the museum this afternoon to see for himself. He reported back that the exhibit remains unchanged from the way it has always been, a solemn exhibit in which visitors walk up to the casket and look down to see a photo that shows Till's face. Museum employees also confirmed that no major changes have been made. That doesn't mean that Donald Trump should be trusted as a steward of our history. We caught up with Congressman Jonathan Jackson of Chicago outside of the museum.
Members of the clergy, this is ungodly, this is unholy, as what Reverend Barber has said. The Bible is a book of history. Those that try to defile history are anti-God. And we're saying for those forces, we're putting a stake in the ground now, stop it. We don't want to see Jewish history erased. We don't want to see Armenian history erased. We don't want to see Catholic history erased. We want them to stop trying to erase Africans and American history. There's been a long history of that. Just this past year, on July 4th, in our 250th anniversary, patriots, masked men that were the descendants and great-great-grandchildren of Ku Klux Klansmen that marched down Constitution Avenue in 1936. 90 years later, they rear their ugly heads and come here covering their face to walk across the mall, to come to this, what he called a Patriots Park. But we push back because we know our history. We're going to fight for what's right, and I thank God for Reverend Barber having the idea that we need to consecrate this soil. It's been dedicated. Now we're calling on ministers all across the country to come. This is sacred ground. Only our clergy can declare that. Those in the Congress had dedicated the land. George W. Bush, in his historic speech, when he dedicated this, he's the one that granted this line. There were sane, sober Republicans that said this is the truth. Let's do this. Yes. We want to stand up for those persons, ask them to come back out.
Now, Jackson and Barber and others were there for a demonstration calling for the protection of the Smithsonian. Of course, Donald Trump's administration has been targeting the Smithsonian Museum of American Natural History, and they have been saying that they want that person removed. There's been a lot of concern from people about how they're going to be attacking all of the different museums a part of the Smithsonian. In this year, America celebrating 250 years, and Trump and his white maggots have been calling for design changes to various exhibits. And so that's been going on. We've seen them do this, order changes at other installations of this all across the country. But again, it is not true. We saw for our own eyes that the photos inside of the casket of Emmett Till have been removed. That simply is not true. We're bringing my panel, Dr. Greg Carr, Department of African American Studies at Howard University. Joining us from D.C., Dr. Larry J. Walker, Associate Professor, University of Central Florida. From Orlando, Jelando Jones, State Representative and lawyer out of Houston. Greg, I want to start with you. I mean, obviously, this is people are on edge because of these white supremacists in terms of how they want to reinterpret history, or they want his story told, not history. And so when I saw that post, I immediately sort of raised red flags. But this is also why it's important for us to check those things. And so things don't just spread and people then begin to believe something that's fundamentally not true. This is why reporting matters. Greg, I think you're on mute.
Oh yeah, thank you.
There we go.
Headphones. Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, Roland, and thank the ancestors that the Black Star Network is in Washington D.C. so you can do that real-time response. I still want to see for myself. As you know, that's a kind of paper photograph that's in the casket there, the one that's on permanent loan from the family to the museum. I can say that I go to the museums a great deal. And I have seen very subtle changes in narrative framing and language. I saw it on the National Mall when I went down for the big boy state fair. In the Arts and Sciences building, the exhibits there on voting rights, the exhibits there on citizenship, there had been subtle changes in the language. I saw that myself this past weekend. I was at the New York African Burial Ground. We stopped there, wanted to see the caskets. There are 419 of them in the reinterment that were carved in Ghana with kente cloth. And one duplicate was made to be in the lobby of the Ted Weiss Federal Building. That casket is gone, as are several other exhibits. So I reached out to my friends there, the Rangers and others, to find out, and they have indeed been removed. The federal building says that this is a security issue, but I already know that it's nasty work. There's also a sign that says African Burial Ground Way. That has been removed. So very subtle changes around. And of course, we remember our brother, Reverend Brown, out there from the West Coast, Vice President Harris's pastor out there in San Francisco.
Yeah, Reverend Amos Brown.
That's exactly right. And then you talked with him about these books that had been removed that he had given to the museum. And the response of the museum was that they rotate those things out. And I can attest to that as well. The only thing I would say is that Lonnie Bunch, Dr. Bunch, our friend and brother Lonnie Bunch, the Secretary of the Smithsonian, continues to fight the good fight. These ideologues will be crushed as long as we remain vigilant and continue to push and fight back. Now, with all due respect to my friend, brother, Reverend Jackson, I don't read the Bible as a history book as much as a book of metaphor and faith. But I understand what he's trying to say and what he's trying to communicate. And we have to be vigilant as we go around the country and look at these places. By the way, Representative Jones, that Gregory Library in Houston, understand that all the museums ain't in the Smithsonian. If you get a chance to go to Houston 3rd Ward, y'all need to go to Freedmanstown and go to that Gregory Museum, because I tell you right there, we got a lot of culture keepers beyond the Smithsonian network of museums.
Larry, this is the report that Trump's folks put together, 160 plus pages, called Saving America's Story. How ideological, go to my iPad, y'all, how ideological capture at the Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of American History erases our heritage. And they spread this nonsense. And really what they want is they want a white man's interpretation of American history.
Sure, Roland. They want to sanitize what they don't want to discuss, and this is connected to all the policies they sought to dismantle. They essentially act like none of this occurred, where the scars of our ancestors, some of them are dearly departed, or still exist, and we carry those in many respects. As it relates to this particular point to the museum, I've been several times, used to live in D.C. for a number of years. Is first, Roland, one of the points you made is that we can see how quickly misinformation spreads. And I think secondly, your point, and I saw people posting this about this on Threads and other platforms, and you made this point. It is understandable people are on the edge because we see what's happening in Philadelphia, and Dr. Carr and other people have noted. We're seeing this throughout the country, and not only in just terms of like federal buildings, but we're also seeing it subtly in various other museums, which is unfortunate. The other point is that I'm going to talk what Dr. Carr talked about is we really need to be vigilant because it's a full assault on African-American history and culture, not in terms of what happened in the past, but what's happening now. And all of that is connected to what will happen in the future. And I want to connect it to what's we're going to likely to hear this evening. So we have to not only protect history, but we also have to keep an eye on what's happening in the present and the future to understand that all these efforts of erasure as it relates to not only Black history, but U.S. history is connected to much more bigger steps that are coming not only in November, but as it relates to the future of this country.
Absolutely. And the reality is, Jelana, these folks cannot be trusted. They have shown exactly who they are.
Oh, for sure. And when people show you who they are, believe them. On one note, I'm thankful that it wasn't true. But you know what? What does it say about this country when it could have been true? Because they are erasing us from places. And to the extent you talked about the Gregory Lincoln High School, that is in my district. It is in historic 4th Ward, which is when we found out we were no longer enslaved. People from Galveston came to Houston as quickly as they could, and they settled in Freedmanstown, which is why that's the right place for that museum. And just so you know, and Roland, I'm almost certain you know this, there has been an effort by people here to gentrify 4th Ward and give it to the rich folks because it's right outside of downtown. And there was a whole big fight over preserving the bricks in Freedmanstown, which the formerly enslaved people actually crafted with their own hands and put on the streets. So, of course, when that went viral, people believed it because it absolutely, in Trump's world, can be true. And we have to, even when sometimes it's not true, listen and go investigate every single solitary time they say they're trying to erase us because they very well could be, and we need to stand on the ready.
Absolutely. I told you about, we're going to bring in Pennsylvania State Representative Chris Rabb into this conversation. Folks, there's been a battle there in Philadelphia regarding these slavery panels. Go to my iPad. This is an NBC News story. Trump administration replaces slavery exhibition at Washington's home in Philadelphia. This has been a battle where they dismantled those exhibits in the federal. Then Philadelphia won in court, and then they got overturned. And so, in the cover of darkness, and this is what the mayor said: overnight, under the cover of darkness, the federal government removed panels at the president's house that told a thorough history of Philadelphia. That's Mayor Sherelle Parker. It was allowed to do this by decision of the federal court, but that it did so at night shows it understands this action is shameful, that it violates community trust. And Representative Rabb, listen, this administration is attacking DEI. It's attacking anything dealing with the issue of race. And as I said, telling real history and not white man's history.
That is true. It's a white supremacist regime.
And as it relates to this here, I mean, Philadelphia has been battling, as this story says, the original panels were placed there in 2010 and told the story of how 9 slaves lived in that home with George and Martha Washington in the 1790s when Philadelphia was the nation's capital.
That's correct. And they were held in bondage illegally. George Washington and his wife rotated them within 6 months because Pennsylvania law at the time said that any black person who was brought in from another state who was there for at least 6 months would need to be emancipated. So they skirted the law. They took them to New Jersey. They took them back to Virginia. So they knew what they were doing. So this is more than just our first president enslaving children, women and men. It was also him very craftily avoiding state law, or he was skirting the law, basically. But more importantly, this wouldn't have happened if it weren't for black organizing. Black local activists made sure that this monument to our history was not just documented, but was immortalized in an exhibit that now has been corrupted, whitewashed, and they're not actually erasing history. They are displacing it from public view. We know how to tell our history. The question is, will we have a government that is hostile to its own history? This is not Black history per se. This is U.S. history. This is all of our history. And here's the bigger issue. As someone who will be joining Congress in January, we can put up all the things we want about history. We can talk all about what is deserving of primacy in terms of what people know about history. But have we learned the lessons of history to impact the type of policies that are going to improve the material conditions of Black people and all others? And the answer to that is unequivocally no. We do not have the collective political will to not just honor history, to learn it, to hold it up, but to actually implement policies that will address the ugly history that we have never faced as a nation.
One of the things that is a joke, Trump signs this executive order that called for federally owned or controlled historic sites to not display, quote, information that disparages America's past or living, and to focus on, quote, the greatness of the achievements and progress of the American people. But these are the same people who also want to deny systemic racism. And so really what they're saying is, hey, we don't want you to talk about any of the actual stuff that we did, the heinous, evil things, just all the good stuff.
Or how about we just have straight up white history? And we talk about all the contributions to society of folks who identify as white. Everything. I'm not sure how many white people want to see that.
Well,
because the misdeeds are legion, right? Because you're still going to talk about the same things. You're just not going to mention black people explicitly, which we know something about because the Declaration of Independence didn't mention black people explicitly. The U.S. Constitution did not mention black people explicitly. So we can play this game. It's not going to go well for white folk who are not on the right side of history.
What jumps out at me, and listen, you referenced, you'll win in November and be sworn in January. And we tried to warn people before the 2024 election. We saw what was going on. The death of George Floyd, May 25th, 2020. I kept saying to people, hey, y'all, this is the third Reconstruction. It has to last a minimum of 20 years. We got to keep our foots on their necks. We can't let up. You know, all these corporations and others promising billions of dollars. You had folks removing statues. All of a sudden, you had folks recognizing this diverse history. And so you sort of, people talk about this racial reckoning. And I kept saying, hey, watch American history. White folks have never allowed that thing to go on, that reckoning to last more than a decade. 2020, George Floyd is murdered. 2021, the right wing absolutely goes after the Black Lives Matter movement. 2022, we saw in the midterm elections, Moms for Liberty rise up, banning books and things along those lines. 2023, the whole thing was about woke. 2024, it was DEI. It was all right there. And we kept telling folks, and too many people were like, yeah, I mean, this stuff not going to really happen. And now we sit right now in 2026 and folks are shocked. And we're like, what the hell? We tried to tell you this stuff was going to happen. And the crazy part is they literally wrote it down and said, here, this is what we're going to do when we win. So talk about how we've got to get people to understand that there are repercussions when evil wins at the ballot box.
Well, I don't know who is shocked and who is just enraged, right? I mean, we should be enraged. We shouldn't be shocked. And the two are not the same. The folks who came out during this primary, and I ran in the bluest congressional district in the nation out of all 435 districts. This is the highest Democratic performing district. It's also very young, it's very diverse, and it's majority black. So it's in the top 3% blackest congressional districts. The young people who I spoke to would not be shocked by any of this. They would be annoyed, they'd be frustrated, they'd be angered, but not shocked because this is the norm. This is a fascist country that is run by a white supremacist pedophile. There's no shock here. But here's what we have to lift up. The fact that there was an exhibit at all was due to the extraordinary collective wisdom and boldness of Black Philadelphians who said, we're not waiting for the government to do this. We're doing this. We're making it happen. The government followed suit as well they should. And then when Trump tore down the exhibit, they took it to court and they won in court. Now we've lost the latest battle and they have basically said they can put up whatever they want, but it brings attention to something that most people don't know about, that the first White House was in Philly and that the first president was an enslaver who broke the law to engage enslaved laborers. So even in our failure, we're succeeding in letting people know the narrative that they wouldn't know because otherwise corporate media would not cover this subject. Now they're covering it all the time, but corporate media does not cover these issues. And institutions are only going to be responsive to when people come out and protest and organize. So the upside of this is people are organizing. That's how this happened. That's how we won in court before we lost. We will continue to take the streets. We will hold people to account. And that's how all the successes we've had as Black folk have happened. That organizing could be nonviolent, or it could be like our ancestors who took up machetes or poisoned their masters. There are all kinds of ways to resist. And we have never, so I tell my sons since they were little, we've always resisted. For as long as we're on U.S. soil, Black folk have resisted in different ways. This is no exception. There are people who are surprised, but those are probably the same people who say, oh, this is un-American. No, this is very American. This is the norm. The anomalies are when we push back. The question is, can we have a sustained resistance to influence these institutions or overhaul them? And that's one of the reasons so many people came out during my Democratic primary, because people wanted transformative change. They didn't want this incrementalism that brought us to the place we are today.
What do you say when you have the likes of James Carville and others that the party is, oh my goodness, it's going to destroy itself, it's going too far left? You've got these socialists that are winning in New York City, Colorado, and other places.
How colorful can I be on your show?
Well, the show's called Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, fuck them. That's my perspective. James Carville, who cares what he thinks? He's a hack. He should retire. His opinion means nothing. These people are out here organizing. These young people, these progressive folks are organizing and demanding a transformative vision of a country that is not unlike the Congressional Black Caucus of 1972. That's demanding universal basic income, or the presidential run of Jesse Jackson in '88. Talking about a free Palestine. This is nothing new, but now people are saying, oh, well, look at these outside influences and what's happening to the party and so forth. There was a party that included an ideological diversity that is not well represented in Congress. So I have no love for that man. He can have all the opinions he wants. And why are we even talking about him? He's a hack. He's a has-been. Let's talk about people who actually had some wins, who actually have some skin in the game, who are on the streets, who are listening to young people, who are working with them, who actually respect Black people and listen to our collective wisdom. He ain't the one.
I have this candidate running in Michigan for Congress, William Lawrence, who on a podcast made some critical comments about members of the Congressional Black Caucus. And he accused them of being a pillar, frankly, for establishment capitalist, imperialist American power. And he also said that, he said, quote, "It's a big problem for left politics in this country, and it gets us every single time. It really defangs the white left and puts us in impossible positions, really." And one of the things that I said on yesterday's show is that the reality is, you already described it. The district that you ran in is a deep, deep blue district. Not all districts that Democrats have won in the country are deep blue districts. And what I've said is the reality is you're going to have different types of Democrats win, because if the thought process is a person who's running in a deep blue district presents the same agenda in every district, then you're likely going to be in a minority and never be in a position of power to control committees, to control the purse strings.
I don't know.
Well, but here's the deal. I mean, at the end of the day, like for instance, I said it, a Sanford bishop in Georgia, he's a Democrat. His district is not a deep blue district. As a matter of fact, that's one of the seats that Republicans in Georgia want to target with gerrymandering. And so, how does the party balance that when you literally have different types of Democrats being elected across the country in different districts, some that are purple, some that lean red, some that are deep blue?
Look, Will Lawrence, I've met the young man. I actually endorsed him. I endorsed him before he made that unfortunate statement. He has since apologized, and I've accepted his apology. He called me to let me know what happened, and I appreciate the integrity of him reaching out to a Black progressive who endorsed him to set the record straight. And I think it's important to make a distinction. If someone is saying that an establishment class is complicit in the corporate duopoly that hurts our nation and what's left of our participatory democracy, and that transcends race, that is a valid point. If he said Black people were taking the charge of imperialism and militarism and hypercapitalism, that would be wrong, inaccurate, inappropriate. He didn't say that. But if we're just talking about the establishment, we have to come to terms with what that actually means. Institutionalists who believe that our institutions should not be overhauled and that they are inherently good. I don't believe that. So I would share that sentiment with him if that was his point. To your point, not all people can run the same platforms because of the demography of their districts. I don't think he was making a prescription for that. But the other reality is there's a way to run with progressive values in a wide array of districts, including rural communities. I mean, the folks who should embrace progressivism the most are rural communities. Absolutely. And the reality is, even conservatives, as long as they draw a Social Security check, they're embracing socialism, whether they know it or not, whether they like it or not. It's a fact. There would be no Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, public education, public housing, et cetera, without the socialist programs that were born of New Deal measures and afterwards.
So how? But here's the other. How do you get them to see and understand that? Because the reality is. Listen, and we've talked about it. These are the same folks who say, oh, my God, y'all need to get rid of that damn Obamacare, but don't touch the Affordable Care Act. And you're like,
exactly.
You know it's the same thing. And so what you're describing,
but they don't,
right? Well, what you're describing is what folks have said for years. Look, in 2004, Howard Dean said Republicans focus on God, gays, and guns. So how then do Democrats, though, speak to those voters when those are the very people who I always say vote against their own economic interests and they complain about the very thing they're receiving? You got Republicans in Mississippi and South Carolina who bitch about federal funding and their states would not survive without federal funding.
Okay, so how many rural conservatives want an AI data center in their backyard? I'm guessing close to zero. Close to zero. But we have corporate Democrats who are supportive of that. You need to organize with people closest to the pain as a central point. You can be on the same side on a particular issue like data center construction with leftists dealing with folks who are on the right based on how it impacts their lives in very discernible ways. You can do that work. It's not going to happen with the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party does not take a position on these things. But those of us who are to the left of our party do. And we're going to get a lot more support from folks who do not identify as progressives or even as Democrats, because we're talking about real issues that are almost always associated with the same problem in this nation, and that is corporate greed and the billionaire class. But if the Democratic Party is like, well, we want to be supported by the good billionaires, and the Republicans are like, all billionaires are good, then we've lost, right? So this is really about the donor class. The Democratic Party listens to its donor class and not to its base. If it were intelligent, it would listen to Black women. It would listen to young people. It doesn't. That's why we lost in 2024. Unless we change that, they're going to keep messing up. And there's going to be anomalous folks like me who win, who have constituencies who want something vastly different, and there's an electorate to support people like me.
Questions for the panel. Larry, you first.
Yeah, Representative Rabb. First of all, I want to note that you're representing my former district, so I acknowledge that. So
right.
we talk about, Philadelphia and its history of Black progressivism. It's like you're not the first among generations of individuals with similar views that represented a part of the city or all of the city. You talked about young people, and I want you to connect those two things in terms of obviously the history of Black progressives in Philadelphia and what you believe the next generation of young people in Philadelphia and other jurisdictions are hoping for and believe they can accomplish in the future.
Well, the next generation is already here, right? We're talking about folks. For the first time in my political career, and I've been in office for 10 years, I serve in the largest full-time state legislature in the country. I represent a majority Black mixed income district in Northwest Philly, and largely older Black folk are overrepresented in the electorate. The number of young people across ethnicity that came out in this primary on May 19th, Malcolm X's birthday, was extraordinary. It significantly increased voter turnout because young people saw themselves in a campaign that spoke truth to power and along with substantive policies. And so they showed up. In fact, there were young people not old enough to vote who showed up, who volunteered. So the next generation is now. We're talking about millennials. I'm Gen X. Millennials, we're talking about Gen Z, and we got younger folk who want to be engaged and are engaged, who are not waiting to vote. They are organizing in their respective communities. They see their own collective power, and that's what's going to take us to where we need to be. It's not going to be traditional politics based on, Washington, D.C. consultants and insiders and TV commercials and politicians endorsing other politicians. It's going to be on the streets. And that's what happened, certainly in my race. But we're seeing that nationwide. We're seeing people who weren't supposed to be viable who are killing it on election day. And it wasn't because they were independently wealthy or well poll tested or all of those things. It's because they organized and they brought to people a message that resonated with people in very substantive ways. And they listened to the pain of those folks closest to this struggle. That's nothing new, but the Democratic Party does not invest in campaigns or candidates like that. And when they listen, the Mondani effect is real. Young people, and not just young people, as a formerly young person, it inspired me all the way in Philadelphia. In every city, I'm in LA today, I've been in Denver, Detroit, Trenton, Harlem, etc. Everyone is feeling this momentum, and it's connected not with personality or party, is connected with purpose and policy. People want to see universal basic income, a living wage for all, Medicare for all. They want this. And it was part of the CBC platform, like I said, 50 years ago. So this is just a resurgence of the same things that Black folks have been leading on for a very long time, not just in Philly, but across the nation. This is our legacy as Black folk. And the only reason I identify as a democratic socialist or progressive is because I'm Black. In my district on 7th and Lombard, my great-great-great-grandfather was a Black abolitionist who conspired against racial injustice 190 years ago. And I have literally the writings of him from back then, and he's saying the same things I'm saying. And that's both disheartening and inspiring at the same time.
Yolanda.
Rep, thank you for doing what you do. And so my question is along these lines. I spoke at the Texas Democratic Convention a couple of weeks ago. And for the most part, I said the road to blue goes through Black. And I am literally having a town hall on this Tuesday talking about that, where the entire purpose of the town hall is for Black folks and nobody else, so I'm unapologetically Black, to come and tell the Democratic Party their complaints and what they need to do in order to inspire Black people to get out and vote. Because the person that's running for Senate here the Republican is evil. And what I've been trying to tell white people is that we don't care that he's evil, because whether Democrats are in power or Republicans in power, Black people always get the short end of the stick. So telling us that the other guy's worse doesn't work. And the town halls and Zooms that have been going on literally have basically been rah-rah sessions about why Black people should be as inspired by our nominees like they were by Jasmine Crockett and vote, and what are you going to do? And so what I'm asking you is, when you were campaigning, did you hold lecturing town halls or did you hold listening town halls? And can you explain to people why one is better than the other?
Thank you for that question. I love that. This was a unique election cycle for us in Philly, because it was the first time in 35 years where there was an open seat, meaning there was no incumbent on the ballot. Our current Congressman Dwight Evans is retiring at the end of this term. So 35 years where there's, since not having an incumbent on the ballot. Also, there are like 13 people running for this seat, and it got dwindled down to 4. So what happened was there was a level of excitement and engagement that is very rare because of this new kind of playing field. And so everybody wanted to hold a candidate forum. So less so town halls, more so candidate forums. So we were, as candidates, we did not have a say in terms of the format or the content of those forums. But I can say, as a longtime state representative, I don't have town halls. I have interactive workshops, community workshops where they're not being talked at, they're being listened to. We are organizing, we're bringing people together and working things out together. So that is my track record. That's what I believe, precisely because of the subtext of your question, which is people don't need to be lectured. People need to feel heard and respected and seen. And we in elective office have to understand and value the collective wisdom of those folks closest to the pain. We have a lot to learn. And ultimately, public servants are held to account by the people. And politicians just serve themselves and will listen to themselves endlessly. And those type of town halls have no value. And I do not like to participate in them or make them under my name for certain. But the other piece I want to mention too is that town halls are about where folks come to you to a setting that you create. The real magic is when you go to them. When people see you showing up in places they don't expect a candidate or an elected to show up. So, I mean, I've hit the clubs. I've gone to, you name it, I've gone everywhere. And to, different podcasters that got me into trouble, reaching people where they are, that really matters, and doing it with authenticity and care.
Now let's be clear. The podcast didn't get you in trouble. You did. We try to put that on the podcasters. All right, Greg Carr.
Thank you, Roland. Thank you, Roland, and Representative Rabb. It's a real pleasure, brother, to finally be able to talk with you. We've talked about you so much, and as an adopted Philadelphian living there for almost 20 years, I was down there. I was one of those thousands down there at Market Street with brother.
That's right,
brother Michael. And
Michael Cord
of Engineer Aston Coalition. Exactly. And we know not only the city controls right across the street, so they ain't taking that on the judge market down. And I worked for Charles Blockson, so I know that the design, they can take down as many panels as they want, but that stone with the names of our ancestors there and that Sankofa pavilion right behind the Liberty Bell, that's a whole lot harder to take a jackhammer to, brother. So it was well designed at the time. So the big victory. I want to ask you, speaking of podcasts, this is Roland. I was reading a transcript of an interview you gave, a conversation you had with Katie Halper, and you said, who can better understand the plight of Palestinians than African Americans? And pursuant to that, I know you saw the vote that you'll soon be joining in the federal legislature, the votes, the amendment to cut off funding to Israel that failed, but more Democrats voted for it than against it. And for me, I'm sure, as for you and probably a lot of other people, an uncomfortable number of members of the Congressional Black Caucus voted no. And so I'm wondering, kind of following up with what Roland was asking, given we live in a duopoly in this two-party system and the Democratic Socialists, the Progressives, so many others see the parties the way we should see them, as delivery systems to get in there and maybe, as Linda Sarsour said, put our best opponents in office. How does this strategy you've articulated of going to those who are harmed the most, how do you think that can play out in terms of Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana and pulling together coalitions like you've done in New York, like you've done in Pennsylvania? And will that finally add to maybe some tensions behind someone like a Cori Bush who's going to run for re-election and a Wesley Bell who lined up and voted, as far as I'm concerned, the wrong way on this Palestine issue? Are we going to have some friction within the Black Caucus as we try to work these things out?
We will have some friction, but that's not inherently bad if we're doing it in good faith. Now, I know some folks who are like, oh, well, the CBC, they're all bought and sold, and they're this and they're that, and I don't play that. Some of these critics are super analytical when it comes to structures and policies and systems for everything else, but when it comes to Black people, it's all cut and dried. We're two-dimensional. And I find that deeply troubling. The reality is the CBC is and Congress is reflective of an extended moment in time where our Congress and the electoral system is corrupted by corporate money, particularly since Citizens United in 2010. And if you are a working class Black person, you're hardworking, you're smart, you seek to serve, you win in your majority Black district, which is poorer than the average district. How are you raising money? Particularly if you're like me and you don't accept corporate PAC money, which I don't take a dime of and I never will. How are you supposed to raise money? Well, if the folks are willing to cut you a check, keep showing up. It's hard to say no if you've never practiced saying no, but that's structural. If we have public financing of elections, we're going to see a sea change in ideology, not just in the CBC, but in Congress generally. These are structural issues. This is not about the immorality or short-sightedness of Black elected officials. That's a racist construct I do not support. Anyone deserves critique for their votes and for their choices as a candidate, as an incumbent. I've made my choices, but we also have to look at those systems. And ultimately, that's what we do, whether you identify as a Democratic Socialist or progressive, and you're not trying to get on this liberal bandwagon of just playing around the edges. We need structural changes. If we had public financing of elections, we would not be having this conversation because people would be more ideologically compatible with their constituencies than with the donor class, because the donor class would actually look like the working class, as it should.
Thank you.
All right, then. Representative Chris Rabb, we certainly appreciate you joining us right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Thanks a bunch.
My pleasure.
All right, folks. I got to go to a break. We come back. More to talk about on today's show, including fireworks on Capitol Hill regarding the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which Republicans would love to completely shut down. Folks, going to a break. Don't forget to support the work that we do here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. That supports this show and all the other shows on the network, including a new weekly show targeting brothers we're going to be launching in a couple of weeks with Jeff Johnson. And so to support our efforts, please join us via Cash App. If you want to use the Stripe QR code for Cash App, use that. Also credit cards. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003-7-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
How you doing? My name is Mark Carey, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Deep into it, like pasteurized milk without the 2%. We getting deep. You want to turn that shit off? We're doing an interview, motherfucker.
Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, is investing in $250 billion in a new data center in rural Louisiana. It's shaping out to be the most expensive in the country, while white Baptist churches in Richland Parish, Louisiana, have praised the project as a divine opportunity for jobs and evangelism. Black congregations see it differently, saying the economic benefits will disproportionately favor white communities. The data center project has led to a surge in land prices and the evictions of both black and white families. Adam Mahoney, who covers climate and environmental issues for Capital B, joins us right now. Glad to have you here. Walk us through here. This is a major deal, and it clearly is showing a black-white divide.
Yeah. Well, first, thanks for having me. But exactly that, what we've seen in this rural pocket of Louisiana, Northwest Louisiana, which is in the heart of the Bible Belt, there has been a division across racial lines and also across religious lines. Historically, the Black church has been a vector of change, fighting for social equity, social justice, abolition, while the white church has in many ways worked against that progress. And that's what we're seeing in Louisiana right now, as Meta is building out what is shaping out to be the most expensive data center facility in the United States. White churches have hosted and organized food distributions for construction workers in an attempt to garner more folks coming to their churches, and have come out in full support behind this project, while Black churches have, to your point, outlined the different ways that this could have adverse impacts on Black folks, whether it be via evictions, displacement, and things like that. You're
talking about how expansive this is. How so? What is the size? Of this $250 billion data center?
Yeah, so right now in the original plans, it was already supposed to cover more than 2,000 acres of farmland, and require 3 new gas-powered power plants to power the facility. But ultimately, Mark Zuckerberg said he hopes it will grow to be the size of Manhattan in New York City. So that will directly mean, paving over and displacing families that have been in this area for generations. And for the Black folks, those are families who are descendants of enslaved people who worked the plantations of those lands.
You say it's caused prices to go up. How so?
Yeah, so, artificially, in some ways, it has inflated the prices of land in the area. And we've also seen landowners attempt to kind of, jump on the backs of this project and artificially raise their prices. So in Richland Parish, which is a 40% Black county in Louisiana, rural, low income, prices have jumped to more than $20,000 per acre, which the average in Louisiana is actually only around $3,000 per acre. So that is a 6 times jump in increase.
Also, your story says that some have organized monthly feedings and prayer drives for the more than 7,000 construction workers now flooding into the parish of 20,000. Of those construction workers, how many are Black?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that is something we're trying to figure out at Capital B across the country when we're looking at these data centers. But I spent a week outside that construction site, and I can say I did not see a single Black worker. They do rely heavily on traveling construction workers. So I saw a lot of out of state license plates, a lot of white and Latino workers. And like I said, the community itself is actually 40% Black. So you would expect to see that play out in the workforce, but that's not what we're seeing.
So you have local leaders touting the construction jobs, but they're not construction jobs for local people.
Exactly. And that's one of the biggest issues around this data center development across the country, right? These facilities are getting tax incentives, tax breaks, and leaders are saying the jobs will trickle down. But what we're seeing, the construction jobs aren't trickling down, and the jobs actually in these facilities, once they're developed, are going towards, highly educated, well-paid folks who are, flooding in from the coast into the South and not actually from these communities.
Okay, so this center, how many, because one of the issues that I've seen about other data centers, the debate, is that they actually don't end up providing a lot of jobs. How many people does Meta expect to be employed at this facility?
Yeah, the company hasn't given an exact number yet, but the estimations on their end, they do think there will be hundreds of workers. But once again, it does not seem like it'll be workers from the community. This is a community that has a low share of college-educated people, and at these facilities, these are tech jobs. These are for folks who have, bachelor's and master's degrees and who have been in the industry for years. And there's not necessarily a pathway in rural America for these jobs.
Questions from the panel. Jelana, you first.
I'm actually, thanks for talking about this issue. I'm actually curious. So here in Texas, data centers are a big deal. And surprisingly, some of the people that are the most pissed off about it are white people in rural areas, because evidently data centers make a lot of noise. Their cattle aren't sleeping. It's causing a lot of problems. It's hurting their productivity. And so I'm sort of shocked to hear this, because the governor here actually modified some things he said about data centers to get the rural white folks off of him. Now, black people have different concerns about the data centers, that it's taking up water, it's taking up land and those types of things. And so even though there's a black-white divide, the common thing is we hate data centers for, different reasons. And so do you think that's going to play out? Do you think the data centers have to be built first before they recognize that if they have cattle, like a ranch with cattle, that your cattle ain't gonna never sleep, and people can't sleep? They're going crazy because they make noise 24/7. So no one's talking about those things?
Yeah, I mean, well, one, exactly across all racial lines, there is negative perceptions around data centers. That is what studies have routinely showed and polls have routinely showed across the country. I just want to say, in this case specifically, and what our story examined was like the role of the church. This is in the Bible Belt. There is, this is a parish of 20,000 folks, but there's over 100 churches. And it is like the heart of like white, Christian nationalism in Louisiana. So white churches there have used it as a way, and they've kind of tapped in to this idea that God granted humans, ordain over the earth to use it to, whatever our advantage is. So they've been using that as a kind of talking point within the church. But I will say, talking to white residents who are not active in the church, there is a lot of folks who are against this project, and for a lot of the same reasons that you're saying. But specifically in a place like Louisiana, where the church is so strong and powerful, we wanted to interrogate kind of the racial lines there.
Larry.
Yeah, thank you for your reporting. And listen, I'm in the state of Florida. From the governor down, there's been a lot of pushback on data centers, similar to Texas. And so I'm wondering, in terms of what's happening there in rural Louisiana, in a way, does this become ground zero of what data centers, what things could look like in terms of accelerating gentrification as it relates to some of these Black communities? And your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does seem that way, and in rural communities specifically. And I will say, in places like Louisiana and Alabama and Mississippi, which are, have come out, state leaders have come out more so in support for data centers, and given tax incentives and things like that. The leaders are saying this is kind of one of the few economic opportunities that these states that are, in the hole, in the red, and losing residents yearly, this is one of their few options. But in reality, we know, these tax incentives are not necessarily leading to any actual economic boon for the residents that live in these places. And in this case specifically, we've already seen gentrification and displacement. We've seen that increase in cost of living, and we've seen direct evictions as a result of trying to house the construction workers in favor of long-term residents.
Greg.
Thank you, Roland, and thank you, Brother Mahoney, for this excellent work. And reading through, a couple of things occurred to me. This is like northern Louisiana, right, closer to Jackson than New Orleans. Yes. I got friends up that way nearby, and whether it be Grambling or Tallulah or some of those other places near Vicksburg, Mississippi. I'm wondering, since it's very hyper local, and you kind of using this brilliant lens to kind of pare this back, and it's kind of going in the vein of what Dr. Walker just had. The demographics there, these churches, where are the younger people in terms of intergenerational? I mean, some of these older folks at these evangelicals and Southern Baptists, they will very soon be able to test the proposition of whether or not they're on the side of Christianity as they transition to meet whatever maker they think they're going to meet. But the younger people, are they on board with this? Are the population shrinking? And then the other question I have is, the people who are there fighting, Is it your sense politically that beyond the Delhaize of the state, that those who can be organized to kind of oppose this can ultimately blunt the force of these folks who are kind of led by their Christian nationalism to embrace this country?
Yeah, to answer the first question, I did meet some young folks in the church, and also their opinions kind of differed along racial lines as well. But it's a community, it's a county that is shrinking in population. It is an older, aging population. So that is one of the reasons why the state then has said you need these facilities to come in, because it will attract younger people to move in and grow the population of these kind of rural, dying places. But in terms of like the organized fight and pushback against this facility and facilities across the country, yeah, I do think, and we have seen, prominent examples across the country where, in both environmental and racial justice organizations have kind of, built coalitions and met their neighbors where they're at, and in terms of sharing information and getting people involved and organized to, push forth bans. We just saw PG County in Maryland pushed a 2-year data center moratorium. The state of New York just recently passed one. There's been some cities in California. But the most effective organizing that we've seen and kind of cataloged in our reporting at Capital B is, that cross-generational and cross-issue organizing that kind of shows all the different intersections of the data center crisis, so to say, whether it be environmental, economic, or just around divestment and investment in communities.
All right. Folks, go check out Adam Mahoney's piece on Capital B dealing with these data centers. Come on, guys. Pull it up. Pull up the article. Do y'all have the article up? You have the article? No. Y'all, do you have the Capital B article up? Y'all should have it up in the control room. No, that's not it. No. That's not it. No. So y'all should have, again, folks, check out the Capital B article. That deals with, let me just pull it up. Here you go. Meta's $250 billion Louisiana data center is the most expensive in the U.S. Check the story out. Again, go to capitalbnews.org, capitalbnews.org. All right, folks. Adam, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, going to a break. We come back. Fireworks regarding the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau on Capitol Hill. We'll show you what happened. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Coles.
Hey, I'm Donnie Simpson.
Yo, it's your man Dion Cole from Blackish, and you watch
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Republicans have always hated the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. This, of course, was created under President Barack Obama, the brainchild of now Senator Elizabeth Warren. Why do they hate it? Well, because they can't stand corporations being held to account. More than $10 billion has been returned to consumers. $10 billion, y'all, to consumers since the CFPB was actually created. But folks like Russell Vought, the acting director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, as well as Trump's head of Office of Management Budget, hates it. Hate it. They celebrated the fact first of all, he was appointed acting, and he's been awful. They despise it. Again, they do not want corporations being held accountable. It was pretty wild on Capitol Hill, y'all, where Democrats pretty much celebrated that he is no longer going to be leading it. It was his first appearance before Congress. Representatives Joyce Beatty of Ohio, Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts, New York's Gergen Meeks of New York, made sure that he will remember this hearing.
Director Vought. Section 1071 of the Dodd-Frank requires the collection of small business lending data to identify disparities in access to credit and enforce fair lending laws for small businesses. Yet under your leadership, the CFPB has sought to delay and significantly scale back implementation of this statutory requirement, even though women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses have faced long-documented barriers to accessing capital. Director Vought, Section 342 of the Dodd-Frank Act requires the CFPB to maintain an OMWI office to promote diversity in the Bureau's workforce, increase opportunities for minority and women-owned businesses in contracting, and access to diversity policies and practices of regulated financial institutions. However, multiple news reports have indicated that under your leadership, the CFPB has dramatically reduced the OMWI office as part of a broader workforce cuts, raising questions about whether the Bureau can still carry out these statutory requirements. Director Vought, I have heard directly from community development financial institutions in my state that they have experienced month-long delays in receiving funding that Congress had already appropriated through the CDFI funds. Those delays created uncertainty for lenders that finance affordable housing, small businesses, and underserved communities, even though Congress had already approved the funding. Director Vought, the recently released Comprehensive Housing Council notice of funding opportunities is a drastic change from previous years. The comprehensive funding is supposed to help families meet their housing needs, whether they are renters, homeowners, or homeless. Instead, under the notice of funding opportunity, none of the CHC fundings allowed by Congress can be used for pre-purchasing housing counseling at a time when there is a national crisis for first-time homeowners. In case you aren't aware, we passed a bipartisan housing bill because of this. Director Vought, the Small Business Regulatory Enforcement Fairness Act requires the Bureau to consult a small business panel. I am a small business owner for more than 30 years, and to conduct a cost-benefit analysis before imposing rules with a significant economic impact. Director Vought, can you tell me who is your OMWI director?
Well, we have
Just
that office.
Just give me a name.
We have that office.
Wait a minute. Because of time, I'm going to respect the chairman. I need a name or a yes or no. Do you know who your OMWI, yes or no, do you know who your OMWI director is?
Sorry,
yes
what
or no?
office are you referring to?
The Office of OMWI, which was put in by Dodd-Frank, Section 342 of OMWI.
What is the non-acronym?
So that means you don't know. That's quite
don't know
embarrassing.
what your acronym is.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to take my time back. Let me tell you something.
I'm happy to answer in QFR.
No, you're not answering it because either you know the director and you know the person's name. I've had Democrat and Republicans over your department to come in here. Since someone mentioned Kathy Kraninger, she came, she testified, she supported OMWI. When we had Mick Mulvaney, he came in and testified. Rich Cordray did, Chopin did, everyone before you. It's embarrassing and insulting. This was created through Dodd-Frank. So let me ask you this. What is your justification for efforts to halt on the small business lending data on the collection, which Congress explicitly required?
We're not halting it. We just did a rule on 1071 to make sure we go forward and implement the statute as you spelled it out in Congress.
Well, that's not the information we had. So let me move on.
Well,
What role did you or officials at OMB play in delaying the CDFI fund distribution?
We didn't delay it. We just authorized it to go out and apportion the funds to Treasury. They are 25 and 26 funds, which means they do not expire until the end of this year fiscally. But we have concerns with regard to that program. LGBTQ clinics that provide gender-affirming hormone therapy and serve clientele of any...
I reclaim my time. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do this with me. Okay? I'm going to respect you, and you're going to respect me. So I'll go back to Omri. It is my suggestion that you send to me in writing who your director is and what are your plans to comply with Section 342 of Omri. And I yield back.
Mr. Vought, you've never been a member of Congress, have you?
I have not.
And you were not a member of Congress at the time that Congress created the CFPB, were you?
I was not.
And Congress then made and gave CFPB a statutory responsibilities to protect consumers from unfair, deceptive, and abusive financial practices. So I don't know if you know that, but I was here when it was created. That's the congressional mandate. Now, you took an office, or oath, I guess, as acting, because you have not been or ever been confirmed to be the director. Is that correct?
I have not, and I'm looking forward to being up with my time on
you have not, and I'm looking forward to that too. But you took an oath of office to faithfully execute the laws that Congress enacted. Is that not correct?
And we've done that.
Not that you've enacted, but that Congress have enacted. And in your testimony, you've said, we've sought to downscale this agency to the maximum extent possible, and I unquote. Then you said, you don't believe that the CFPB should exist in its current form, which is the form of which Congress created, not you, or the Dodd-Frank Act, which is still the law. You may not like it, but it is what Congress set forth. Congress has never relieved the Bureau of its statutory responsibilities. So, Mr. Vought, the first thing is, your job isn't to run on a temporary basis, as you have, the CFPB as you wish. It is as the Congress has set out statutorily for it to be done. Your job is to be faithful to administer the CFPB that Congress created. But that's not what you've done, sir. You've accused the CFPB of, and I quote, advancing a radical political agenda. But Mr. Vought, aren't you the creator of Project 2026? And you're trying to put that in place here, which is a radical political agenda? Aren't you doing the exact same things? That's what you're doing? You're putting forward Project 2026, a radical political agenda, and trying to utilize it in the CFPB, which is not authorized by the United States Congress? Sir, under your leadership, the CFPB has dropped enforcement actions, cut its workforce, and made major operational changes. Mr. Vought, your lawyers, and you've done this being a non-confirmed person, and your lawyers have even argued in court that major decisions about the Bureau's workforce and operations should wait, shouldn't be on you temporarily, but your lawyers said should wait for a Senate-confirmed director because they carry greater legitimacy. Your lawyers are actually arguing that you don't have that legitimacy. That's their case. That's what they said in court. It says it's not legitimate when they are made by someone not confirmed by the Senate. So your conduct, sir, is directly inconsistent with the position of your own lawyers of what they took in court. So you described the CFPB as an unserious agency in your testimony. Do you believe that what you and Elon Musk did with Doge at the CFPB reflected seriousness? So that was unserious. and not what the American people would expect from their government. Congress never authorized DOGE to carry out the CFPB's mission. Congress never gave DOGE authority over consumer financial protection. Yet under your watch, sir, DOGE gained access to some of the CFPB's most sensitive consumer and supervisory information that I call that unserious and that reckless, sir. Your testimony mentioned several things. I'm out of time, but sir, I'm glad you're leaving. I yield back.
Director Vought, I too I'm glad that you're leaving. Sadly, your harm will remain for generations to come. I have every reason to believe that history will judge you harshly, especially in that you were a key author of Project 2025. Again, implications that we'll be feeling for generations. Like this, $500 billion. Director Vought, that's how much medical debt Americans hold. In fact, many families have medical debt over $50,000. Now, that may not be a lot of money to Republicans like Trump, who, quote, don't think about Americans' financial situation, but that is a lot of money for most people. This is debt people accumulated during the most challenging times in their lives, like battling cancer or recovering from an accident. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, under Biden, issued rules making sure that medical debt would not be reported on credit reports and put guardrails around how that debt can be collected. Common sense things, like companies not being able to come after you for bills you've already paid. Now, to be clear, these kinds of protections were supported by families throughout the country, Director Vought, in rural communities, in urban communities, in suburban communities, and in Democratic and Republican districts. But Director Vought, you took that away when you rescinded those rules. Director Vought, give me one reason why companies should be able to harass cancer survivors to collect more than they owe for a medical bill.
Well, they shouldn't be able to harass, and we have laws on the books but the rules that we changed were specifically—
Give me one good reason. You rescinded the rule where medical debt would not have been reported
because the statute
on credit
didn't allow
reports.
it.
Give me what— you don't have one good reason. Moving on.
The statute literally said the reverse.
There is not one good reason. You claim, you avow that you are a self-proclaimed Christian nationalist, so I'm sure you spent some time in Sunday school.
That's a pejorative.
I'm sorry, did you happen upon a scripture that said, thou shalt make their neighbor poorer, hungrier, sicker, and less safe? That's actually what you've done. I didn't ask you to speak. This makes no sense. You are as incompetent as you are cruel and callous. Seriously, there are millions of families who have had to deal with an unexpected medical crisis, including yours, I'm sure, because cancer and illness do not discriminate. They don't care how fat your wallet is or what your zip code is. Everyone has been faced with some unexpected crisis that interrupted their life and destabilized their financial future, carrying the burden of caregiving, carrying the burden of sleepless nights, carrying the burden of debt unpaid, medical bills. But what upsets me most, please look at me, what upsets me most is the shame that people carry about that debt. So let me be clear to families throughout the country. The only people who should be ashamed of medical debt is the Republican Party, because they have obstructed progress for affordable health care at every turn. And then they rescinded the rule that would have given you some relief.
Would the gentlelady yield?
I will not. This is my time.
Would the gentlelady yield?
I will not yield. This is my time. And he's on his way out the door, and he needs to know exactly the harm he's caused. But the American people deserve to know.
Talk about Obamacare.
I will not yield.
It's Ms. Presley's time.
Why are you speaking to me when I didn't yield to you? Director Vought, you have gutted the CFPB. You have dropped settlements the CFPB brought against predatory companies that were supposed to provide relief to customers. $360 million to help people gone. Americans are in dire need of financial relief, but Trump and his co-conspirators, his cult of co-conspirators, are making life worse for everyday people, and I mean everyone. Women, the disabled, young people, seniors, veterans, immigrants, and especially people of color who are most burdened by debt and predatory collection and reporting practices. That is exactly why I introduced legislation to stop you from hurting people, like getting rid of consumer protections related to medical debt. The American public deserves better. They deserve better than you. They deserve a CFPB director who puts the consumer protection in this, who actually gives a damn, instead of attacking hardworking families who are financially trapped by Trump's reckless policies. Consumer protection should not be a partisan issue or a political game. You have dedicated your career to helping corporations get richer, making families sicker,
Gentlewoman's time
poorer,
expired.
and less safe, and there
The chair
is
recognizes
nothing
the gentleman
Christian
from Tennessee,
about
Mr.
that.
Rose, for 5 minutes.
Well, Jolanda, he earned every bit of that because, again, what they want is they want companies to do whatever they want. I said it was $10 billion. They actually returned $21 billion to consumers. Republicans do not like when companies are held accountable for their actions.
Oh, absolutely. But I do like the way they handled him. And I love the way Congresswoman Presley said, why are you talking to me? I didn't yield my time to you. Be quiet. Because that's how you have to deal with them. But I think it was brilliant the way most of them did not ask him a question, because what he was trying to do was to sprout talking points that didn't answer the questions and continued their narrative. So I think that that was great. But at the end of the day, what that government agency does is when they're predatory lending, when they're charging too much with fees, when they're doing all these things to set us back financially, when they're letting them mess up our credit and we say, no, you can't do that. That's what that does. Except for rich people, like, how much money is too much money? There is no such thing. They will literally rob from the poor to become richer, which is definitely a problem. So I enjoyed listening to every word of his skewering, and thank God he's leaving, because there's nothing godly about him. In fact, he is the devil.
Well, he's leaving, but listen, Larry, they could always appoint another right-wing maggot zealot to the position.
You know, Roland, when I worked on the Capitol Hill, it was nothing better when you knew there were people testifying and they're just going to get cooked by by your boss, and you sit there and just laugh. So let me add that. Secondly, you're right. I mean, he's done a terrible job. We talked about his role as architect of, one of the most horrendous documents we've seen in a long time as it relates to, partisan politics. But this administration is pro-business and pro-white supremacy. So nothing's really going to change. He certainly went home, and I'm quite sure had multiple drinks of wine or whatever else he drinks, but he got everything he deserved. And, I'm glad that members didn't give an opportunity really much to respond, because as my colleague highlighted, he's always going to do is the same talking points that, Republicans have been using for decades, to be quite honest with you. I think the other thing is the fact that the damage he's done is a reflection of how race and politics intersect. Because many of the voters that supported and were responsible for this current administration are the same ones going to be negatively impacted by these policies, because, him at the helm, they have not held these corporations responsible, as you heard a lot of the members of CBC and others highlight. So once again, it's just the racial and economic divide in this country, and those individuals, as you highlighted many times on the show, Roland, that people don't vote in their best interests. And as a result, you get someone like who's overseeing the bureau, and then someone else who is likely to do even worse of a job.
To me, this is an example, Greg, where Democrats should be literally running ads of individuals that have gotten money back as a result of the CFPB, and showing how these companies were ripping them off and saying, but the folks on the other side, they want to get rid of this. I mean, again, $21 billion returned back to American citizens, taxpayers, and Republicans are like, yeah, let's let the companies do whatever they want to do.
Absolutely. It's remarkable how night after night, Roland Martin Unfiltered curates stories that seem to be of the same piece, and the theme emerges. When Representative Rabb talked about organizing by getting closer and closer to and with the people who are suffering the most, who are closest to the pain. When Brother Mahoney in his article talks about the absurdity, well, he didn't say it this way, but the absurdity of Christian nationalism and the absurdity of whiteness that would literally kill itself because they think they're going to a better place, and that God told them that to be good stewards of the land means to use up the land, because after all, they're going to a better place. And then we have Russell Vought, who is not going anywhere, y'all. Russell Vought had a temporary appointment at the Office of Management and Budget, but he controls the Office of the Budget. When you look at this funky-ass white Christian nationalist document, Project 2025, he didn't write the chapter on the Office of Management and Budget. He wrote the chapter 2, the Executive Office of the President of the United States. That is the quarterback chapter. That's the quarterback that led them to say that the president is in control of the entire administrative state. That's the chapter that Sam Alito, another hardcore Christian nationalist, not a Catholic, but a Catholic fanatic. His Catholicism is to Christianity what Al-Qaeda is to Islam. Russell Vought is an ideological bigot. Did you hear when Representative Presley called him a Christian nationalist and he said that that's a pejorative term? Well, that's not what he said in March 2021 in Newsweek, where he not only embraced the term Christian nationalism, but defined it by saying America is a Christian nation, a purebred lie, and that the nation part of it means you got to exclude and put the interests of your country above everybody else and get all the people out of it. And the nationalist part means that you're part of a Christian nation. He said there should be a separation between church and state, but there must be Christianity that infuses everything that the government does. This is what he wrote in the document. Now, why do I say all that? And by the way, everyone, and go ahead, Congresswoman Beatty, because what she got him on is the thing that he doesn't care about. OMWE means the Office of Minority and Women Inclusion. He didn't know the acronym, or he did know, but either way, what he was giving her and every woman, every non-white, was the middle finger. I am an ideologue. Read what he wrote in chapter 2. My job is to destroy the administrative state, to eliminate it. As far as I'm concerned, finally, one of the most riveting moments of exchange in that conversation was when Tom Tillis, who, having lost his congressional seat, his Senate seat on the Senate side of these hearings, having lost his Senate seat, seems to have discovered what's left of his testicles, went after Russell Vought to say, give me one example of what Doge did that made some difference in terms of budget savings that we can use in other places. And then he told Vought, he said, I've run businesses. That's what I do. And then he went through the very specifics, which a person like you, Roland, would follow him chapter and verse in terms of how you run a business, how you make savings, how you bring people in to cut costs, how you then repurpose. And then he was like, Russell, you ain't never run nothing. So give me one example. And every time Russell Vought tried to, he said, no, I'm a businessman. Give me one specific example. If Vought was being honest, that little bird-chested, nasty piece of work who was scurrying around on Capitol Hill in a rented townhouse when they were out of power, coming up with this plan that they're now executing, which makes his smarmy appearance today nothing more than he ain't nowhere getting drunk. He's happy because they're religious ideologues. His whole thing is, we got to get rid of everything we don't like in this country. And led by my warped concept of Jesus and a useful idiot like Donald Trump, we're going to rewrite the DNA of this country. So he really doesn't care. It might look like got you, but trust me, that's the nastiest piece of work in the federal government.
Yes, he is pure evil. All right, folks, got to go to a break. We come back. We'll tell you what's happening with the Harriet Tubman Museum in Maryland. That's next right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Be sure to support our work. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. You want to give you a cash app, use a Stripe QR code. You see it right here. This is also for credit cards. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com for details on how to give. Also, checks and money orders, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2037-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Back in a moment. All right, folks, let me tell you about Chapter. Now, if you're on Medicare or about to be, the system is not set up to work for you. Too much fine print, too many plans, and too many people making money off of your confusion. And look, we're used to this. We're no strangers to systems that don't have our best interests at heart. But we don't have to accept it when it comes to Medicare. That's why I'm telling you about Chapter. Their advisors are independent and honest. In fact, they're the only Medicare advisors that compare every plan nationwide. And they're focused on one thing: what works for you. If there's a better plan out there, they'll find it. If you're already in the right one, they'll tell you that too. There are no games. Just last year, people who switched with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. It's 20 minutes and a real person. It's completely free. My parents actually have already called. My mom sent me a text. Folks, give Chapter a call at 724-264-8281, 724-264-8281, and connect with someone you can trust. Folks, these are the kind of services that we need for our audience here at Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network. So call Chapter right now, 724-264-8281.
Carl Payne pretending to be Roland Martin. Holla!
You ain't got to wear black and gold every damn place, okay? Ooh, I'm an alpha, yay. All right, you're 58 years old. It's over.
And you are now watching
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable.
Folks, last month, the Harriet Tubman Museum had a reopening, if you will. They had made some changes there. Lots of fanfare took place. But then, guess what? Thieves actually broke in and stole the donation box. Not only that, damaged the mural that is on the side of the building where the door is located, damaging it and impacting the mural as well. I really hope those folks are caught. As a result, the museum estimates thousands of dollars are going to have to be spent in order to install a security system, repair the door as well. If you go to their website, what they have on their website, they have a donate button where you can go to actually donate to assist them. Now, keep in mind, this is an all-volunteer museum. It is located in the county where Harriet Tubman was born, and it tells her story. Now, there are other places around the country that recognize Harriet Tubman, but again, this particular museum, located right there in Maryland, is about supporting her legacy there in the home county. We want to talk right now with the director there because this is an important story. Linda Harris. She is the Director of Engagement and Programming for the Harriet Tubman Museum and Educational Center. Linda, glad to have you here. Man, it's a doggone shame. All the fanfare y'all had and some thieves broke in. How has the public responded since this story became public?
Well, it's been great. First of all, thank you for having me. It has been overwhelming. I'm really taken by the generosity of people. So I think we're going to be okay. Do understand that we are the original Harriet Tubman Museum, opened in 1992. So we have kept her legacy alive for a long, long time.
So when is the museum open? So
1990. No.
I'm saying you opened in 92. I'm talking about days of the week and time.
Oh, no. So we reopened. We had a flood last year, a pipe burst, and so we reopened in May. We had a grand reopening. We reimagined the museum. The museum is, each wall is a mural, and it depicts the story of Harriet Tubman's life, inside and out. So we had a grand reopening. People had started coming, lots and lots of visitors, and we were back in full swing. And then last weekend, we had this break-in. Someone broke in, tore off our back door, damaged the murals inside and out to get in and to take our collection box.
So to repair those damages, what is it going to cost?
Well, I'm getting estimates now. Just getting the door alone is about $3,500, and that's not the installation. Then we have to get cameras, we have to get lighting, and really secure our building now. So I don't have that number just yet. I'm getting estimates now.
And the estimated time when you'll be able to reopen?
Well, I hope we can open in a couple of weeks, but that will depend on the contractor. When the door comes in, we ordered the door. It's going to take 7 days, and then we've got to get a contractor, get on his schedule, and then the lighting contractor and the security person. So, you know, I'm hopeful in a couple of weeks, but I really can't say because it's going to depend on the schedules of the people doing the work.
You talked about you've had a great response.
Yes.
Have y'all put out a dollar amount that you're trying to reach to handle all of these expenses? So is it 30,000, 40,000, 50,000?
Well, no, I think probably 25,000 would be the mark to get us fully protected, because we've been terribly naive in terms of how we've, you know, the museum.
Linda,
Yes.
you need to raise that number, Linda.
I need to raise the number. Okay.
Yeah, because here's the deal. Okay, security system, the door, restoring the murals. So then you still want to have some excess. So Roland is saying, Linda, the number that you need to be telling the public, you want to raise $50,000.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying, because I mean the bottom line is I mean, and so there are other things, because obviously. Even with the security system, lighting, listen, the equipment cost may be even higher. I just personally, that's not a large number, and I think what it does is even if your expenses are $30,000, that gives you $20,000 that you can actually do other things with the museum. And so I would actually put that out there, and then I would even have a running count on the website as to where you stand, and again, and hopefully people respond.
Yep, we can do that. Thank you. We can run a total and let people know where we are. Absolutely.
Larry, I saw you over there shaking your head. You were like, yeah, go with that 50.
Yeah, absolutely. I do fundraising stuff, so 50,000 or 60. Okay. I don't know, 60.
Well,
no, I like 50 is a round, clean number.
A round number.
Okay.
Okay. 50. All right. Well, thank you guys, because
Oh, and again, listen. So you said the museum is staffed by all volunteers.
All volunteers. I'm a volunteer.
And when you
in the DC area, yeah, I drive to Cambridge every week.
And prior to this, you were open how many days a week, and what was the time?
Oh, so we're open 3 days a week because there's only 2 of us running it. So we're Thursday, Friday, Saturday, from 12 to 4.
And how many visitors do you normally get through there?
We get about 200 people a week.
Cool. Questions from the panel?
We get a lot of visitors.
Questions from the panel, Greg?
Thank you, Roland, and thank you, Sister Harris. Let me take this moment to thank you personally. We were there with the Mid-Atlantic region of the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations, a powerful young sister named Stephanie Tisdale out of Philly. And you walked that group through the center and through the surrounding areas last October. We're there for a 2-day conference. That is a remarkable space, just a remarkable space. And so I guess my question as I'm thinking about it, and I agree, that number might even be lower, 50,000, because I know what that did for them. For us, I'm going to spread this word from Philly and Baltimore and DC alone. You ought to be able to hit that 50, because those young people are going to do that. Any thoughts about tapping into the network of museums and cultural centers around the country? I say that because we were talking earlier about the Smithsonian, but as you know better than most of us, there's a network of these small museums. There's a Harriet Tubman home in Auburn, New York. I mean, there's so many places that I think that just natural synergy, as you get this word out, that I think those communities will small dollar donations and maybe 1 or 2 superstar athletes or something that says they're just gonna write you the check. But I know you're a one-woman gang because I saw it in action. But any thoughts about tapping into that network?
I would love to, but that requires time and running the museum, walking the Underground Railroad, getting people in. There's only so much we can do, and so I would love to be able to have that and be able to reach out. But I'm one person doing many, many things, so I would need help to make that happen.
Jolanda,
I'm going to be one of those people.
Sorry, Jolanda, go ahead.
So I'm sitting here listening. There's only one Harriet Tubman. Everybody Black in America probably knows Harriet Tubman. There's only one place that Harriet Tubman was born. So despite the fact that there are other Harriet Tubman museums, y'all are special. Wouldn't it be a great thing? You're open for it. I think you said 3 days. You got 2 people running it because it's free to get in. It's my understanding.
Yes,
so
that's correct.
I think the 50,000 that Roland said is low because after you get your security in and all of these things, you're probably going to need cameras. You may even need to have security watching because in this day and age under Trump, they are literally trying to destroy Black history. And there's a special place in hell for whoever broke into your museum. And so I think that you should really commit Roland's question to you to see what amount of money you need, not just to get back to where you were, but how to grow your museum. So I'd be curious to know what you think about those thoughts.
Good question. And I'm not sure I have the answer. I spend a lot of time writing grants and doing walking tours. That's how we raise money. So still there's things I have to ponder. And I must apologize. I'm a little unprepared for these questions because it's just been my objective to get people there to promote the great legacy of Harriet Tubman. And with just one other person helping, it's quite difficult. And what I need are bodies. But ideally, if I had $500,000, and even that's a small amount of money, and I know that would take us a long way, first of all, to be able to hire help. I'm a volunteer. I retired, and I'm a volunteer. But I know that for the sustainability of our museum, we need younger people to help us, and we need to pay them. So if I think of a number, yeah, sure, $500,000 would take us a long way. But I have to deal with where we are right now, and the objective is to get the museum reopened so we can start having our people come in and continue giving lectures and talks and walks about Harriet.
Well, and that's why, and so the reason I said that, because I think the number you gave, again, first of all, it has to be aspirational. It has to be, because again, the whole point is, and this is something that I need our audience to understand, and I've been talking about this for years. Even when I was at TV One, whenever I travel giving speeches, I would often do my show from a Black museum. So I remember there's a Harriet Tubman statue at Southern University, as a museum that Southern University Shreveport has. And I did a show from there. We did, of course, Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. We did it from the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center in Cincinnati. And there were some other places. And so I would often do that because I wanted to make people aware of a lot of these museums. And what people don't realize is, I mean, there are a number of places all across the country that people just don't even know about that are telling our story. But the reality is a lot of those places are run by volunteers. These are people who are committed their lives to telling those stories. And the concern that I have is that, listen, as people become ancestors, as people get older, that we don't want to see those museums die. In fact, when I was in Memphis a few weeks ago, I had no idea. I was there in front of the "I Am a Man" statue, and a sister came up to me. Give me 1 second. I got it right here. And I had no idea. I had never heard of the Slave Haven Underground Railroad Museum in Memphis, and they've had
been there.
Had never heard of it. And so she came up to me. There were some issues that they had with some financial issues, and I said, "Hey, send us some information. We'll be gladly have you, on the show." But for the purpose of the audience, understand what you're describing. There are places all around the country. And if we don't support then those places don't exist. And then that means that, and again, I have great appreciation for the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. But listen, we had the sister who's the CEO of the International African American Museum in Charleston, where they have to furlough their work. They got 20 full-time workers, and they're furloughing them because they've got, I think it was a $6.5 million budget shortfall. And so to tell these stories, it actually takes money. What folks to do is, if you go to HarrietTubmanMuseumCenter.org, HarrietTubmanMuseumCenter.org, and there's a donate button. There's a donate button, and you see the various amounts. They are 501c3, so it's tax deductible, and so you can go ahead and write that off. And so we want you. So this is what I want. So I want our audience in the next 24 hours to donate. I want to hit a number of $10,000 in the next 24 hours. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the social media as well. We're going to put it out there. And so that's what I want to hit. So Linda, it's 7:52 p.m. Eastern. So I want you to, I don't know how much y'all have collected. I don't know in terms of when you donate. Let's see here. Matter of fact, so when y'all say, right, so let me just walk y'all through. Go to my iPad. So this is what I want y'all to do. So I want y'all to go in here. Everybody who's watching, I want y'all to do it right now. I want you to type in your name. And then I want you to type in your email. And then what I want you to do, 1 second. See, this is how we gonna track this thing. .com. And I want you, where it says donate in the name of, and I want y'all to put Roland Martin, the hashtag Roland Martin Unfiltered. That's what I want y'all to do. Hashtag Roland Martin Unfiltered. And then you see right here, y'all have the amount. So let's say $100. I just want to show people the window. So it goes to donate. And then let's see here. What do we have here? Okay, we got all this sort of stuff. We got phone number. We got a checkout. So you have so it's all credit cards. So what I would suggest, Linda, and my web team can help y'all with this here. On your donate page, I would add PayPal, Cash App, Zelle, and Venmo. Because a lot of people, it's so much easier. Somebody could just say, boom, here's $10 via Cash App. And so if y'all could open, with Zelle, that's tied to a bank account, you can use an email. You don't have to use a phone number. We do that for the show. For PayPal, you can use, again, email. For Venmo and for Cash App. I guarantee you, if y'all add that, it's going to exponentially grow your donations because so many people contribute. I was just sitting here, and last thing here, I would also, on your donate page, I would use the address. And I know you may, listen, I'm not lying. I was just sitting here doing a commercial break. So we get I was sitting here actually depositing, hold on, checks and money orders, because there are people who watch my show who do not believe in credit cards, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, Zelle. They straight old school. These are actual checks and money orders of people who watch this show. And so then that way you're giving people an opportunity. So I would just suggest that have the address on there where they can actually send in donations. But I would add PayPal, Zelle, Venmo, Cash App. That way you have all the donation efforts. So for our audience, if y'all want to give, go to HarrietTubmanMuseumCenter.org. And again, our goal is 10,000. So let's just say, again, 500 of our folks who are watching decided to give. And those 500 people, that's an average of $20 each. And then that'll raise $10,000. That gets them to that $50,000 goal. So that's what I want to do. And so Linda, we'll check back with you in 24 hours to find out if we hit that $10,000 goal. And so let's initially ask for $50,000 in the short term, and then the long-term goal is to get your $500,000 goal.
That would be fantastic.
All right.
That would be fantastic.
So we'll check.
Okay.
We'll check back with you in 24 hours to see if we hit the goal.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you so much.
Greg, I want to go back to you. As I was saying there, a lot of our people have no idea. A lot of these places is volunteers. When we were in Montgomery for the All Roads Lead to the South, we decided to stop by Dr. King's the parsonage, and same thing. Yes. It was two sisters there. They're volunteers. They give the tour. They tell people not to take photos of the house where he and Coretta Scott King lived because, again, they raise money for that. But again, these two older sisters telling the story about that church led by Vernon Johns before Dr. King came there, and the church that's church property. And again, this is our history, and here we are. Folks are mad and upset because Trump took down the panels in Philadelphia, and the rumors would happen at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. But museums like this are not government run. These are run by our people, and we absolutely have an obligation to support.
That's exactly right. Something else that probably won't be mentioned anywhere else, certainly not on commercial news, entertainment, mass media today. Today is Ida B. Wells' birthday. And when you said that, until this moment, I'm embarrassed to say that it didn't occur to me, but when you said that, Ro, in Holly Springs, Mississippi, not far from the campus of Russ College, is the Ida B. Wells House and Museum. It's the exact same thing. It's a house run by volunteers. They don't have a lot of money, but that is literally the plot of land where Ida Wells lived after she was born in 1862. And Sister Harris, man, as I said, I thank you for having her because I got a chance to say this to her face. I mean, you talk about a tireless worker, and it is a beautiful, wonderful space. And she invited these young people in, college-age students and those in their 30s and 40s, and she literally stayed with them and just, it's truly remarkable and transformative. And you're absolutely right, Will. The King, well.
Oh, Greg froze. Greg, start again because you froze right there. Go ahead.
Okay, the parsonage that you mentioned, we were in Montgomery for something for the Fred Gray Institute a few months ago. And we went by there, parked the car, and literally in the block, as you know, from where Dr. King and Coretta Scott King lived, up the street, the place that was bombed when Yolanda was a baby. And then on the other end of the block is the doctor whose daughter is still alive, who wrote a book when the Freedom Riders came through CORE. They stayed there. And then you walk across the street and there's the Ben Moore Hotel, where Bayard Rustin stayed. And shout out, and it's a beautiful brother, and I know you know him, Roland. Brent Leggs. Brent Leggs has just been elevated to the director of the National Historic Trust. Because they give these micro donations, and I'm sure you'll be in conversation with him at some point in the very near future. He has spent his life in preservation, and they are a formation that give these small dollar grants. $10,000 may not seem like a lot, but to an Ida Wells Museum in Holly Springs, to a Harriet Tubman Center in Cambridge, Maryland, that is transformative.
Yep.
So what you did tonight, brother, is something that is going to change that circumstance for the better. And every time you post it up at a museum, and by the way, they cut the budget at the National African American Museum and Cultural Center in Wilberforce. That was the first federal museum, 1976, the bicentennial. The same year, the Philadelphia African American Museum was put in place because those black folk in Philly forced, of all people, Frank Rizzo, the racist mayor of Philadelphia, to give up some money. We knew how to use the bicentennial. I think we kind of lost the ball on the 250th. But when you post up there and broadcast, remember when you were there at the Black Wall Street Museum in Greenwood? I mean, this changes everything, Roland. What a beautiful, beautiful thing tonight. And thank you. And y'all give some money. I followed your instructions, by the way, brother, step by step. As you gave it out, said what to do. I was typing, so my money's already in. This is going to take a lot of pressure off that sister. That's a
I didn't do it. So, but we'll go ahead and say it now. So, so what we're gonna do is, so y'all, we raise this money and we get this door fixed and get the security cameras and they open. So she said they're open 12 to 4, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So so this is what I think we should do. What we should do is either Thursday or Friday. Greg, you're on here Thursday, so maybe, so what we'll do is we'll actually do the show from there. And then we can do the show from there. We can I'll hit Mayor Brandon Scott. We can blow this thing. We can blow this thing out. I'll hit my girl Shalonda Stokes, who's over the downtown group. This whole job to bring stuff, and it's a bunch of folk I already know. There's state reps and state senators. Of course, the Alpha national head, Alpha Phi Alpha. Larry and Greg, our national headquarters is located there in Baltimore. So I'll hit our general president, and so what we can do is, so as a part of this, so here's how I'm sort of thinking this. So we raise this first 50, get the doors open, get the security system in, and then we use that as like sort of like a telethon to try to get them towards the 500,000. Because again, she's absolutely right. Folk are volunteering. Listen, if they open 3 days a week, you should be able to pay a couple of people to work, and you got to be able to build this thing up. So that's what we're gonna do.
Roland, I know we're running. Can I do one thing? Because Representative Jones, thank you for correcting me. Not third ward, fourth ward. When I was in Galveston last Juneteenth for a ritual there, and then I came back to Houston, and my niece dropped me off at Freedom's Village. And those two sisters who run Freedom's Village gave me a tour of the whole place. That's another place that needs our money. Thank you. I just wanted to say that to you while you're here, Representative Jones. These little places are where our culture really is kept. So I just want to say that. Thank you, Roland. I want to mention that to you while you're here, Representative Jones.
Yep, absolutely. And so that's what we're going to do. So y'all do this right now. Everybody who's watching, go to HarrietTubmanMuseumCenter.org. Click donate. When it says donate in the name of, I want you to put hashtag Roland Martin Unfiltered. So that way we can track the donations. Our target goal is to raise $10,000 in the next 24 hours for this museum. And so let's make it happen. And again, just like we say with this show, y'all, listen, if you can't give 20, you can give 10. If you can't give 10, give 5. You can't give 5, give $1. And if you can give more than $50, give more than $50. That'd be absolutely great. So we can make this happen. And so there we go. Before we do go, there's a couple of stories that we had. I'm not going to get to those, but I do want to pay homage to a brother who is now an ancestor. Roll out in memoriam. Folks, many of you who watched the show 227 might remember Hal Williams on that show. He spent a number of years in Hollywood, was a regular on Sanford and Son. Hal Williams passed away at the age of 91 years old. As I said, a long career in Hollywood, going back, of course, so many different memories. I've seen people posting their thoughts and reflections on his life, his legacy, and so we certainly remember him. 6 decades as an actor. He played Officer Smitty Smith on Sanford and Son, appearing in 22 episodes alongside Howard Platt's Officer Hoppy Hopkins. Of course, it was 227, the Waltons, Private Benjamin, On the Rocks, so many others as well. Beyond acting, he was dedicated to helping the next generation. He served as a longtime board member of the Los Angeles Actors Theater and founded the Mark K.A. Williams Memorial Scholarship Foundation, which provides financial support to students of color pursuing degrees in television and communications. Hal Williams is survived by 2 children, 3 grandchildren, 3 great-grandchildren. Again, he was 91 years old. And so I saw some folks, Jolanda, Larry, and Greg, they were like, oh, that was my 227 daddy. And again, a very popular show. Marla, you got Marla Gibbs. You've got, of course, I saw Jack A. Post about him as well, folks remembering Hal Williams.
Just be nice to her.
That floozy.
Okay, I'll be glad to talk to her.
Oh, no, you won't.
Fear of what? They can only kill me. Everybody dies. But I didn't know what else to say. I'm afraid we got some bad news for you.
Fearless TV veteran Hal Williams, a favorite on sitcoms like 227 and Sanford and Son.
Hey, what's going on?
Why do you think Sanford
It's just generally funny. One laugh after another all the time.
Red Fox was a little bit...
There were these classic scenes with you and Officer Hoppy.
On the groundbreaking 80s sitcom 227. He played the memorable Lester Jenkins on-screen husband.
Marla's full of energy and she's always coming up with ideas. This is the beginning of an era. Mary, if you're finished, could you come down off your soapbox long enough to fix your family some dinner? I did this project as a play for a year and a half at Marla's Theater. And when she started to put the television idea together, we reasoned that there was an audience out there for this show that wanted to see a positive family image, good things happening to people, and that a crossover audience could identify with. And I think that's the key to our show. We don't consider ourselves a black sitcom. We consider ourselves a sitcom that happens to have black actors. I knew from the outset that we had a real good show and a real good cast. I'm mobbed by people at church when I go to church every Sunday, in stores. Where's the show? Where's the show? And I can go anywhere in any part of town. It's not black people, it's people. That show.
Me too. All those dramatic courtroom showdowns, am I right?
We had a ball.
Our condolences to Hal Williams. Greg, you going to say something?
No, I was just watching because he's from Columbus, Ohio, the famous East High School in Columbus. So watching those, man, you're right. Young people, I know y'all watch this, Sanford and Son and 227. But these master actors, he was a social worker, believe it or not, in his 20s in Columbus, Ohio, and said, I got a failing marriage. I got these children here, and I'm not happy in this job. He packed all his stuff up and moved to California, man. Left his children with his parents until he could get a house and get a situation, and then moved them all out to L.A. and took off. Imagine that. He was a social worker, man. I'm just so, thank you, Ron. Again, something you're not going to see anywhere else. Appreciate that, brother. Hal, wow.
That's why we do what we do. Final thoughts, Jolanda, Larry.
I would just say I love. First of all,
oh, go ahead.
Hold on, Jolanda, John, you first. Go ahead.
I just want to say, Roland, I just want to thank you for telling Black stories and the truth, because in this day and age, of course, with all the stories that we've talked about today, and it takes courage, and the way you uplift Black businesses and Black museums and just Black people is inspiring to me. And I'm so thankful that you're from Houston and that you went to school in 3rd Ward in my district. But that's all I want to say. And you let us know about people. I had the opportunity to meet Marla Gibbs. She is fantastic, her damn self. I did not know that she had a stage play, and that's how he ended up going. But I'm always surprised when I learn the stories that you tell on here. And that's what is important to Black people, which is to continue telling our stories. And we have to do it.
If we don't tell our stories, nobody else will. Larry?
I think the show tonight, among all those shows you have every week, every day, highlight why, Roland, we have to protect Black identity and culture. Because obviously, like, Dr. Carr talked about, you don't have these conversations anywhere else, so it's critically important we continue to have them, but we need to back that up with money.
Absolutely. Just a couple of more things, folks. Greg mentioned today the birth of Ida B. Wells Barnett. Also, today would have been the 79th birthday of Alexis Herman, former labor secretary, activist, phenomenal sister. Alexis became an ancestor April 25th, 2025. This was from 2017 when both of us were among the honorees with two others, including Cito Gaston and my man Hank was one of the Freedom Riders, when Henry Aaron picked his Courage Award winners, and I was delighted to be picked by him. And Alexis was in that class, and so I appreciate that. So yeah, she became an ancestor last year, and I was texting some folks, and they were talking about missing her tremendously as well. And so I wanted to definitely give her a shout out. And also, I wanted to do this here. I got one more, y'all. Again, you talk about why it matters for us. I saw Tara Hall. I saw her I saw her post something today, and I didn't realize that it was. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second so I can pull this up. It was 5 years ago. We lost Biz Markie. Rapper DJ Biz Markie passed away 5 years ago, and I sent his wife. I sent his widow a text message saying that we were going to, that I was posting something. So his wife is, widow is Tara Hall. And so certainly condolences go out to the family. That was, he was, anytime I saw Biz Markie behind the microphone DJing, I knew it was going to be a great party. And one of the best stories ever, Larry, Jolanda, and Greg, he was DJing somewhere, and these cats started acting a fool, and they started fighting. And so Biz Markie started playing country music. And he said, if y'all don't cut this bullshit out, I'm going to keep playing country music until y'all stop arguing and fighting. Well, that stopped all them hood bros from fighting. But he said, I'm going to play country music until y'all stop. But Biz was a great brother, sorely missed. Again, it's been 5 years since he passed, and so just want to give him a shout out as well. All right, that is it for us. Let me thank Larry, let me thank Jolanda, let me thank Greg for being on today's show. I certainly appreciate it. And so, folks, do us a favor. Again, the work that we do, anybody else doing. As a matter of fact, I mentioned IWL, did y'all get a shot? Did y'all get a shot? Because y'all know, go and show it again, because y'all know in our studio, I have 3 photos, and one of those photos is Ida B. Wells with her famous quote regarding shine the light of truth upon them. And she was an absolute bad sister and a phenomenal journalist. And I love the story. I saw that somebody did a story, and it was on the women's suffrage march. It took place in 1917? In D.C., and the white women wanted to appease the racists in Congress. So they said black women had to be at the back of the march, and they couldn't march up front. And so Ida B. Wells Barnett acted like she was leaving, and then she actually just slid right up front next to them. And a few weeks earlier, Delta Sigma Theta was actually founded, and them sisters from Howard decided to go ahead and hop in. They said, no. They got in their caps and gowns, marched not in the colored section. They marched in the college section at the women's suffrage, and they were like, I dare y'all to take us out of line. So Ida B. Wells Barnett being a subversive, but that's who she was. And so that's why we honor her with our portrait there. And you see, of course, Harry Belafonte, James Baldwin, and I've got, my goodness, I've got, Angela Davis in here, Dr. King in here. And I am commissioning, I got to figure out where I'm going to put it. And I'm probably going to put it right there. I know I have that Colin Kaepernick piece that was given to me by an artist in Sacramento. We got the Juneteenth flag. But I'm going to commission a piece. I have not decided what artist I'm going to hire to do it, but Paul Robeson. Paul Robeson is a name that you talk about, a freedom fighter, and whose name has been largely erased from not only American history, but Black history. And so I want us to make sure that we are properly paying homage, because that was a bad brother. If y'all have not read or studied up on Paul Robeson, trust me, you need to understand that brother was a superstar athlete, singer, actor. He was a lawyer, a true Renaissance man, and somebody who put it on the line. We have that book from Howard Bryan on Paul Robeson and Jackie Robinson. I read the biography of Paul Robeson years ago, but trust me, that's a name that rarely ever do you see Paul Robeson's name mentioned when we talk about iconic figures in Black history. You'll hear Denmark Vesey, Martin Delany, Frederick Douglass, Addie Wells Barnett. You'll hear A. Philip Randolph, Langston Hughes. You'll hear all those names. Rarely will you ever hear Paul Robeson, and understand he was the most popular African American in the world. In the world. And the federal government said, we got to take this brother out. So just another thing right there. And his birthday is in April. I think April 5th is Paul Robeson's birthday. And I didn't realize it, Greg, but there is a huge mural. So he, of course, went to live with his sister, passed away in Philadelphia in 1976. And there's a huge mural that's never promoted, but it's in Philadelphia. And I said, man, I need to go check this mural out. And I had hit, the Alphas had the convention in Philadelphia last year. Wish I had known that. And I told our general president we need to have something dealing with Paul Robeson at our convention next year. But again, that's just one of the folks that, again, does not get mentioned. But when you talk about a bad brother, y'all read on Paul Robeson. It will blow your mind the kind of brother that he was. All right. That's it for us. I appreciate it, y'all. So you get a little news, you get a little politics, you get some sports, you get some history, you get some fundraising tips. Okay, we do all that here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. These other shows don't do that. And let me be clear. Oh, also I saw last week, I looked up and we were number 45. On YouTube's weekly list of the top 100 shows. Normally what happens is we are we're in the bottom portion. The highest we've ever been, I think, was 41. It may have been 31. I can't remember. But we were 45. And here's the deal: there's no other show like us. There are other shows hosted by Black people, but there's no other show that is focused and dedicated. This is the graphic I put together on social media. There's no other show. And so YouTube's Top 100 Podcast, we were number 45, July 6th through the 12th. And y'all, there's no other show that does what we do. We center Black people. Let me say that again. And they say nothing against other Black folk who got shows who cover mainstream topics. But on this show, we center Black people. And the fact that of YouTube's top 100 podcasts every single week, and we're talking Joe Rogan, Midas Channel, Megyn Kelly, Ben Shapiro, all these shows, there is no other show in YouTube's top 100 that centers African Americans. And so that's a testament to y'all who watch. It's a testament to y'all who check out what we do. And all that's important, and I've made it clear, we're not gonna stop. We ain't changing what we do. We're not altering what we do. We're gonna keep doing what we do because I believe it's just like with our Black newspapers and others. I believe it is crucial that we have places that, as the first Black newspaper, Freedom's Journal, said, we wish to plead our own cause too long of others spoken for us. That was Freedom's Journal, March 16th, 1827. And I just think that all too often, what happens is we have to be pushed to the back burner. When Yolanda talked about the speech she gave, where we need to be at the front of the table when it comes to politics, that's always been my issue. That we are a part of the story. We are a fragment of the story. whereas I just fundamentally believe we need to be the centerpiece. And so that's why we do what we do. And so when we ask for your support, that's what it's all about. We launched this show September 4th, 2018. We'll be 8 years on September 4th, 2026. Will be the Black Star Network will be 5 years old. And so this is where we started with 157,000 YouTube subscribers. This is where we sit as of right now. And so I would love for us to hit 2 million by September 4th. So I want you to, if y'all are watching and you ain't subscribing, click subscribe. I want y'all to pass the word. I would love for us between now and September 4th to hit 2 million subscribers, because we're gonna keep doing this work, y'all. Again, we're gonna keep centering us, our stories, our people. We're gonna keep paying tributes to our folks when they become ancestors, and we're gonna keep doing what we do. If y'all want to support this show via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code right here. That's also for credit cards. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TV. If you want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered swag, do me a favor, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. shopblackstarnetwork.com. We don't just talk about it, we be about it. We created this as a place not only for our products, but also for Black-owned businesses. You see right here our America at 250 mug, where it says, tell the whole story. I should have said, tell the whole damn story. I know I be cussing, but it's all good. But tell the whole story. This is our mug right here. I don't cuss as much as Jolanda, but this is what we do. We got this quote from Dr. King. If you want a tote bag right here, this tote bag says, be true to what you said on paper. Dr. King's part from that sermon, April 3rd, 1968, Mason Temple, Memphis, Tennessee. I love this quote right here by Paul Robeson, and that's why I had it put on a shirt where he said, this is our home and this is our country. Beneath its soil lie bones of our fathers, for it some of them fought, bled, and died. Here we were born, and here we will stay. And so that's what Paul Robeson said. And then James Baldwin said this here, I love America more than any other country in this world, and exactly for this reason, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually. And so that's another fantastic. And of course, we got Roland Martin Unfiltered at the bottom. I'm actually having them change this because I want America 250 at the top. So I want America 250 at the top, and that quote at the bottom in that same color scheme. And then we have this is our America 250 shirt. America 250. Tell the whole story. And then, of course, he doesn't get mentioned because he purposely left the movement. Read his book as well. He was a mathematical genius. He left the civil rights movement because he feared becoming a civil rights celebrity. Some of y'all gonna get that. But this Bob Moses left the movement because he did not want to become a civil rights celebrity. And so he had this great quote here that I love. We're not here to bring politics to our morality, but to bring morality to our politics. And Bob Moses said that in 1964. And then here's another one of our shirt. We are not fully free. Freedom is a work in progress. This is one of our Juneteenth shirts. And again, we have the Dr. King quote on the shirt as well. Be true to what you put be true to what you put on paper. Be true to what you said on paper. So go to shopblackstarnetwork.com for our shirts of our show, but also these t-shirts as well. And y'all, yes, I'm sitting here burning the Tribe and Oak candle. We had them on the show. This is their leather coconut santal soy wax. We had them on the show a couple of nights ago. Their candles and other items you can get. Yes, I have a lit candle on the show. Matter of fact, I came in here and I was like, where the hell is my damn candle? Who moved my candle? So to everybody who in the control room, leave my damn candle on my desk. All right? All right. All of these products you see over here, y'all, these are black-owned products. Everything that you see right here, these are black-owned products. Of course, we created this as an opportunity because we wanted to highlight black-owned businesses. We wanted to give these black-owned businesses an opportunity to sell their products. Marketing is extremely expensive, but it's also an opportunity for you to support this show. So when you buy these products, and I have, you got black-owned toilet paper, tissue over there, you got backpacks, crossword puzzles, candles, you got all kind of stuff. When you buy these products, you're also supporting this show as well. It goes to fund this show. We don't have millionaires and billionaires, contributing to us. To my knowledge, and I see all the names, I don't know of one sports figure who has cut a check to support this show in almost 8 years. I know 2 celebrities. One is a group, one is individual. I only know 2 celebrities that have cut checks that financially support Roland Martin Unfiltered. And I appreciate them, one of them, a big check, and I appreciate that. But listen, the reason this show has worked because regular ordinary folk have made it possible with their contributions supporting us, and so we appreciate that. And so again, support our black businesses, support the show. It helps us. It helps with our other shows. And as I said, you're gonna see the promo soon of a new show with Jeff Johnson, the Targeting Brothers, that we're going to be launching very soon. And so trust me, look out for that as well. And so I appreciate it. I'm going to see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. How